Bengals turned over a good portion of the roster the offseason, adding Sheldon Rankins, Geno Stone on defense, along with Zach Moss, Mike Gesicki, and a first-round pick, Amarius Mims on offense. But they traded away Joe Mixon and let Chidobe Awuzie, DJ Reader, Tyler Boyd, and Jonah Williams all leave in free agency. Booger, you got some like-for-like positional swaps for a team that had a porous O-line at times last season. The corners at times gave up a disproportionate amount of big plays. What must happen for Cincy to contend this season in the AFC?
I think the biggest thing is going to be health-wise. And I'll start on the offensive side with Joe Burrow. And obviously, they got to get Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins has to stay healthy. Joe Burrow has proven he's the one quarterback that can line up and go toe-to-toe with the best in the National Football League, whether that's Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. It doesn't matter. And the confidence that Joe Burrow gives his team exudes through that entire football team. Defensively, I think we all trust Lou Anarumo. Their ends, Hubbard and Henderson, I think combined are one of the best pairs of ends in the National Football League. Lou Anarumo understands how to get after people on the defensive side of the football. So I think the combination of Zach Taylor, the head coach, and the efficiency that he runs that offense with, Joe Burrow staying healthy, and Lou Anarumo on defense, I think if they feel like they can get to the postseason with that triumphant, healthy, and physically and mentally ready to go, they can beat anybody.
You know, Bug, the definition of greatness is, can you make those around you better? And you go back a couple of years ago, Patrick Mahomes lost Tyreek Hill, and they went on and still won the Super Bowl. And you look at the defections that this team had on offense in particular, when you think about Joe Mixon and Tyler Boyd, they lost 36% of their offense when those two players departed in terms of scrimmage yards. Look, I think they have plenty of weapons to make it up with. I really like Jermaine Burton, their third-round pick. I like the drafting of Amarius Mims in the first round to help the line. But Joe Burrow is really what's going to have to make up for those defections, and he's going to have to play at his highest level for this team to be successful, which I think he can be. But obviously, it's going to be paramount that he starts all 17 games this season.
And Joe Burrow to return to that 2022 performance, Mike. I'll just read the topic bar that was on screen. His QBR ranked in the bottom half amongst qualified starters, just fractions of a point ahead of Russell Wilson. New on NFL Live, Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson was cleared for contact last week, but had a setback today. Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski said his QB was limited with, quote, general arm soreness, saying, quote, I decided just to hold back a little bit with him, but not overly concerned. Still no word if Watson will play in Cleveland's preseason finale. We'll stay in the AFC North, where it's been a bumpy preseason for Pittsburgh. Russell Wilson, Justin Fields have played 13 combined series. The team has 3 points to show for it. This is the opposite from last year's preseason when Kenny Pickett went off, though that success was curbed a little bit once the games that count started. New Steelers OC Arthur Smith thinks everyone should calm down when talking about offensive struggles. Smith said, quote, to give context to it, when you want to play guys, we're in a unique situation where you need to evaluate. Preseason can distort reality, good or bad. We've all seen it, and that's not making excuses, but things happen in football. Russell Wilson also said today he would play in the preseason finale Saturday in Detroit. No word yet on if he'll start. Jeff, what more can you tell us where things stand with the Steelers quarterback competition?
Well, it is significant that Russell Wilson is saying he'll play on Saturday. Now, this competition, while it doesn't feel like it's necessarily been decided by the play during these preseason games, it does still feel like it's trending toward Russell Wilson starting week 1. And I know that he did deal with the 3 sacks in the most recent preseason game. He actually had kind of campaigned to stay on the field longer than he was initially supposed to. Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator, was going to have him play 3 series, but he kind of lobbied to get out there for a couple more. He wants to get this right very clearly. I think that we shouldn't necessarily read into him playing as part of the competition itself, but more Russell. He missed some of training camp due to his calf injury. He wants to get as many reps as possible. So I think it is significant that he is going to be on the field on Saturday.
Booger, you were shaking your head through the entirety of that Arthur Smith quote. We've got 2 new QBs in Pittsburgh. We've got a new OC. Who do you think the Steelers should start under center week 1?
There's an old adage that if you have 2 of something, you don't have 1. And that fits this Steeler quarterback situation to a T. It's like asking a young Bug, hey, Bug, you want Brussels sprouts or you want asparagus. I really don't want either one, but if you force me to eat one of them, I'm going to choose Brussels sprouts because I can drown it with some sauce. Like if you're looking at Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, I think they both have their flaws, but if I had to choose one to start, it would be Russell Wilson. And I would just say this, I would hope that at some point, Russell's experience and his ability to minimize the mistakes and minimize the turnovers would show up, because the same flaws that he has leaving the pocket and not reading the football, not reading the defense down the field, they're the same flaws that Justin Fields. Now, I don't want to hear about Justin Fields' athleticism. That athleticism got him ran out of Chicago. At some point, that position, you have to deliver the football down the field. And right now, neither one is doing a really good job of it.
Yeah, for me, Booger, I would go with Justin Fields because he's 10 years younger than Russell Wilson. I think there's more upside, and I think his game really mirrors Ryan Tannehill, who had 2 great years in Tennessee with Arthur Smith. I understand that it's not the most polished passing game. That doesn't happen overnight, but I do think there's more ways for them to win games with Justin Fields right now than there is with Russell Wilson. And I would say this. Unfortunately, Minnesota's looking for a quarterback in terms of they lost J.J. McCarthy for the year. If I'm Pittsburgh, I'm looking to try to trade Russell Wilson. Maybe I could pick up a 3rd or a 4th round pick. And Ryan Tannehill, ironically, is still out there, guys. So if I'm Pittsburgh, I'm starting Justin Fields, looking to sign Ryan Tannehill. And if I could trade Russell Wilson, that's something I would do. Keep in mind, last year, 66 different quarterbacks started a game in the NFL.
Back here on NFL Live, Lamar Jackson is 58-19 in the regular season, second best in the league since he debuted in 2018, behind only Patrick Mahomes. But that success has yet to translate to the postseason. 2-4 in his career in the playoffs, 0-1 in the conference title game. Of the 10 QBs to win multiple MVPs, Jackson's the only one below 500 in the postseason. Lamar addressed the doubters this week on Mad Dog Radio.
I mean, I'm motivating myself because I know what I want to do at the end of the day. You know, those guys had their time. You know, I really don't care what the criticism is, you know, what the critics say, because at the end of the day, you know, I just came off a season-ending injury the year before, and we made it all the way to the AFC in a new system, you know. So it's nothing to be down in myself, my teammates, or anything like that, you know, because we made it far. You know, we just got to keep going, and you know, God's will, we'll be there, you know, because that's our goal. You know, we criticize ourselves more than anyone else. So what people say on the outside, that's just their take.
Mike Tannenbaum, this team's won a trio of divisions with Lamar Jackson, the AFC 1 seed, I believe, twice. They've only reached one AFC championship game. How can this Ravens team finally get over the hump in the playoffs?
Be successful running the ball when the opponent knows you're going to be running it. Last year, Phil, the Baltimore Ravens blew 3 fourth-quarter leads, and I think Derrick Henry is the perfect player for this. It's the old axiom, pass to score and run to win. The best teams I was on in my career, we were able to finish games by securing the line of scrimmage and running the ball when our opponents knew it was coming. And that's really the mindset of what John Harbaugh wants to do, that physicality. And Derrick Henry, to me, will have the ability for them to finish games in a way they haven't been able to do in the last couple of years.
You know, I agree with you on Derrick Henry. I think he's going to be that finisher, the guy that can kind of run the 4-minute offense. But I think in order for this team to get over the hump, their best players have to play their best at crunch time. And their best player is Lamar Jackson. Like, he's got to be that dynamic guy with the ball in his hand. And that's not just throwing the football. That is getting outside of the pocket, running the football, making plays. Like, the difference between peak Lamar Jackson and peak Patrick Mahomes, guys, is not a ton. We've seen Patrick play his best, though, at the most crucial times in the postseason, in the biggest games. Lamar Jackson can do the same thing, and I expect him to do that. And so if they can get to the postseason healthy and can run the football, Derrick Henry, I think, is going to help him. But at the end of the day, Lamar Jackson has to be that special dude with the ball in his hands. If he's that, they can beat anybody in football.
I think you nailed it, Bogan. The one thing I'd say, too, is I don't view their season last year as a failure by any means. I view their final game against the Chiefs as the ultimate failure. And to me, that's when they got away from what they are and what they do best. They didn't allow Lamar Jackson, or Lamar didn't allow himself to kind of go into that video game mode and do his thing. It was almost like if they were like, we're going to win this game by passing the football, and we're going to show everybody we can do that, as opposed to just finding a way to win. And to me, this team is once again set up to make that type of a run. I'm very bullish on the Baltimore Ravens. I do not think last year was a failure. I think their final game was the ultimate failure.
Booger, I want to follow up on one point. This is a team that lost multiple starters on the O-line. Their backup center left town. Lamar Jackson's talking about losing weight. What do you make of that transformation given the pieces that they're replacing?
Well, there are 3 guys on this screen, and I'm going to speak for the other 2. I think we could all stand to lose a few pounds, so I have no problem with Lamar Jackson losing a little weight. I think that's going to add added quickness and some durability to him. And the offensive line, I think, is going to be fine. There's a saying in there that says, play like a Raven. I don't ever worry about the toughness or the physicality of this team. And again, losing weight never hurt anybody. It's good to be a little healthier, Jeff Darlington. You can fit in those 28
I got a
slims
little
now,
something
JD.
too.
Holiday's right around the corner. We're just
Billy.
getting ahead of the curve with the extra pounds and kilos to come.